Good morning, everyone. This is Untitled from Region 11. I want to thank everyone for joining today. I really appreciate it. This project, as you know, is the first pilot project in New York City and only second one in New York State to be delivered using this model-based contract delivery method. So I understand that it is something new. It takes time to learn how to review our material. So we wanted to provide this second round of presentation to everyone, since some of you were not present at the earlier presentation, so that we can walk through our material and show you how to review it. Before I begin, a couple of things. Lead part of this work is being handled by our Albany office, main office, highway and structures. Zach Maybury and Eric Coulter are the lead people. They are really the expert in this model-based contracting method. They have delivered the first pilot project. So they will be the one who will be going over the presentation and walk basically everyone through so you can understand. I also want to tell you that we are always available even after the presentation if anyone has any specific questions. Zach and Eric's emails are at the end of the PowerPoint. You can email them. You also have my email address and phone number in my earlier email. So you can talk to us, call us, email us, and we will do our best to walk everyone through on reviewing this submission. So I really appreciate everybody's time and effort. I know this being the first project, it's a little difficult to understand, but we will work with you to make sure you can review our work properly. Before I hand it over to Eric, I just have one request. If everyone who is not talking, if they can mute their microphones so that we can hear what Zach and Eric has to say, I would appreciate that. So it's to that, Zach, if you want to take over, please.
Hi, Anshu, for that introduction. I know we have about 80 participants right now. There was over 180 on the email. So I think a few more people might filter through in the next couple minutes, but I think we, in the interest of time, should get started right now. Like Anshu said, if you could go ahead and mute your mic if you're not speaking, just so that everybody can hear the presentation. The primary purpose of today's presentation is to go over the material provided with the ADP submission for your review. With this being a model-based contracting project, you just don't see a plan set in there and are able to quickly get acclimated and start your review process. As many of you have already seen, there's more than just one file provided. And we really wanted to get ahead of any questions and any concerns of people being confused with the files being provided. So I'd like to use that opportunity today to go through each of the files, hopefully clarify any issues that people may be having right now, and put you on a good path going forward so that you can have a successful review. With the amount of people that are joining today, I don't think it's going to be practical to have an open discussion and questions. So like Anshu said, please follow up with email after the meeting today, and Eric and I will reach out to you directly, help you solve any issues you have, and potentially even take you through any concerns you're having with reviewing the model itself. But if we're going to go to that extent, I'd like to have meetings more at the group level. Example would be New York City DOT, and hopefully we could get everyone together that was potentially having an issue and have a meeting directly with you. Likewise for any other city agency. So we did do our initial presentation to all agencies about model-based contracting back in October, I believe. That was a good overview of our pilot project, and we wanted to give you guys a heads up on the direction that we were heading with our second pilot project, East 138th Street over the Major Deegan. Hopefully you guys were able to take away from that this is a new and upcoming process that's going to be continually fielded over the next upcoming years, and we really see this being the future of project delivery. With that being said, of course, there's going to be some growing pains across the, fielding this process. and we're here to really ease any of those burdens that you guys may encounter. So as everybody knows, this is the project location. You can see where my mouse is here. This is the subject bridge replacement, East 138th Street over the Major Deegan. You got the Major Deegan running north to south here underneath. To the west, we have the Madison Ave Bridge. So I'm not going to go into model-based contracting into too much extent, but I do want to give a high-level overview of the process, just in case you've never heard of the term before and you're really curious what it might mean. So model-based contracting is specifying contractual work with a variety of relevant electronic files. You'll hear me keep saying the model and the 3D model, but it's not just that. It's also CAD files, it's Excel files, it's alignment files, it's XML. It's really whatever electronic information we can provide contractually with the plan set that provides a better contract. See if I can mute this person quick.
I'm all right, you know.
All right, I think I got him. So with that being said, the overall intent is to reduce or eliminate the corresponding 2D plans. It's just not plainly jumping into this and eliminating every 2D plan that existed prior to this process taking place. We've really taken a high-level approach at this and tried to determine which elements should be provided in the 3D elements, in the 3D model, and what would really provide a benefit to the contractor and any reviewing agency. It would be very easy to add all this information into a 3D model, but at the end of the day, if that's not the easiest way to access it, one, and two, if it just makes more sense to have on a 2D plan, such as work zone traffic control, when you're just showing simple elements such as lane shifts and tapers and closures and work areas, 2D plans still do a wonderful job at showing and demonstrating that information. So the way we went about creating a engineering stamp for these electronic documents, you'll see as part of the plan set that accompanying the model is there's a sheet called Electronic Files Identified as Plans, ELE is the drawing number. On this sheet, we list out the different files that will be provided contractually, electronically with the plan set, along with the engineer record. When this project is put out for letting, each of the respective stamps will be on there as well. But this just should give you a good overview of the different files that will be provided. Looking down here at the federated file, this is a supplemental file that we are providing. Federated, what does it mean? Federated is a new up-and-coming term in the CAD environment. It means to form a single centralized unit within each state or organization, and each organization keeps some autonomy. All right, so what does that mean? We have each of these contractual files up here, but what if I want to see more than just the contractual highway work? I'd want to see, of course, you know, how the bridge is integrated with that, and potentially even some of the utility elements as well. So that's why we created the federated file. It's essentially one-stop shopping, and that's what I'd really recommend for reviewers to open and conduct their review in. The federated file just simply references each of these contractual files and puts it in one central location that allows a user to access the information they want, and you know, they can get rid of any information that they don't want to see. And we'll go through a quick demonstration on that as well. So what's the first thing when somebody opens a plan set and they're looking for something specific? They look at the index, right? So we wanted to recreate that process even with the model-based contracting and having the model represent many of these plan sheets that you would have traditionally seen on 2D. So you can still go to the index. However, in some of these instances, you might notice that instead of seeing a drawing number, you're going to see model with an asterisk next to it. You can go down to the note on that same sheet, the index sheet, and it will point you to the correct document so that you can get that information. So for example, for the typical sections, you'd of course want to go to the feature roadway contractual highway file. Likewise, today I'm just interested in doing a good review of the work zone traffic control plans. Where should I go for that? I'm going to go to the index. I'm going to go down. Okay, I see the work zone traffic control plans here for stage 1. Notice it doesn't say go to the model. It says go to WTC 1 and through WTC 1-13, and those plans will outline stage 1 of our work zone traffic control plan. So that's something that you really need to take away from this today. I would start here if you're looking for a specific set of information, and then take a dive into the model after that accordingly. So we've included some preset saved views in the model. These are essentially set camera angles that have particular elements on so that it enables the reviewer to quickly dive into the information that they're interested in. You'll see when I pull up the model, there's an overwhelming amount of information if it's all on at the same time. And if a user is looking for something specifically, it would take a lot of work to get to that single element. So with that in mind, we set up these specific saved views that a user can browse to and quickly retrieve the information they're looking for. You'll also see the saved view list in the model-based contracting special note. I'll touch upon that in a little bit more detail once we go into the specific files that were provided with the project. We've also included embedded links inside of the 3D model. You can picture these as a cell or an emblem inside of the model. For something like a PDF, you'll actually see a PDF icon pop up. I'll go through a couple of examples of these as well. And that PDF icon in the model will directly open the associated file. For example, if I click on the link to the carrier beam data, I don't have to browse to a listing of 100 different files and try to find the carrier beam data associated information. I just simply click on that link and the Excel sheet or PDF will pop up instantaneously. These are also all included in the special note. I'm going to mute one more person. All right, perfect. Also, part of the special note is our required software to view the model. You'll see that we've provided reviewers 2 different methods to review the 3D model. One method will be Bentley View. That's my preferred option as a longtime CAD user. It feels very comfortable for me to access the model and look and measure and get the specific information that I'm looking for. However, we've also provided a method called iTwin. That method uses a link to a Google Chrome web page that enables a user to bring up the model, access the model, just like you could in Bentley View. However, you don't have to download any software, and the overall feedback that we're getting by that method is that it's more user-friendly to someone that is completely unfamiliar to the CAD world. And that's how Bentley went about setting up that product. We've created some training videos for Bentley View. Those are on our YouTube page. Specific videos. We try to break them out and make them, 1 to 2 minutes apiece so that they're very detail oriented. You might hear me say something today about levels, but you don't really remember what it was, and you don't want to watch a 30-minute video to try to find that snippet of me talking about a level. you can just go to this Bentley View 6 video, talks about levels, boom, you get the, we try to make them short and accurate because, attention spans aren't nearly what they used to be. And if somebody's got to watch a 30-minute video, they're likely not to. So we've actually included these on our other pilot project as well. And we got a lot of good feedback from contractors. So now that we went through that information, we're going to do a breakout from here. I want to go through the different files that were provided with the ADP submission. Hopefully this provides some more clarity to the different files that were provided, as well as answers any questions that people may have that already access the files online externally. And I know a lot of people are on this phone call internally as well, and those will be located on the P drive. Two of the files in there that I'm going to talk about in a little more depth are the quick start guide. I think that's very important for every reviewer that's going to look at this package. It provides a lot of different valuable resources and information and guidance so that you can get the best experience from your review. And it's going to answer a lot of questions that people have right off the start. Secondly, the model-based contracting special note, that actually details out the level of development for the various figures and shapes and solids included in the 3D model, as well as tells you what information that we can get from the model and what information I should refer back to potentially the standard sheets or the 2D plan set. So I really want to recommend every reviewer to go through both of those documents in its entirety before you start your review, because it's going to answer a lot of questions and hopefully provide more clarity for you during your review. After I go through that, we're going to talk about the 3D model, and I'm going to go through that in Bentley View. Like I said, that's the downloaded free software. All you have to do is simply make an account with Bentley, free to do, and you can readily access the model. The second way of accessing the model, we're going to show iTwin. That's what we were talking about in Google Chrome. I don't have to download any software. Likewise, I will have to create a Bentley account, and that's fairly straightforward. We provided videos on how to do that as well. And that is another very powerful technique to review this model, and Eric will go in good depth on that. Another method that we've included so that user can quickly get orientated with the project and the different features that are going on is the 3D layered PDF. We'll quickly do a demonstration of that. And then we had our consultant team, GPI, put together a 4D construction simulation that depicts each of the stages that goes on in this complex staging project. And hopefully a viewer can get the information they want from that and fully understand the construction staging. All right, so I'm going to bounce out of the PowerPoint at this time. So this is the email that was delivered to every external reviewer. I want to go through some of the information in here just because it was a lot of different files and links provided. So, hopefully I can just break this down very simply and answer any questions that people may have. We've included a Word document that breaks down each of the files that were provided and a quick description of what they are. Clicking this link right here will bring you to the FTP site that all of the ADP documents are located on. This second link down here will bring you to the YouTube page for our structures group. And this is where the synchro video, the 4D construction simulation, is provided. We've also provided that via MP4 format at the FTP link as well. So it's really up to the user on how they want to view that.
To organize this reporting stuff for you. I'm not involved. This seems like a conversation that keeps on going and going and going and going nowhere, just like the congestion tolling. I'm happy I'm not involved in any of these coordination meetings. 138, congestion tolling, and bridge strike are endless.
Hopefully somebody doesn't think that this conversation today just keeps going and going and congestion tolling keeps going. All right, let's get back to the presentation here. So this third one here is all the files. You can quickly bring that up, and that's to the iTwin review right there. That was the other method I suggested in lieu of the Bentley View review of the model. Notice that it says requires Google Chrome and an account with Bentley. If you don't have access to this right now, you simply just have to reach out to Eric and he'll provide you access to the model. You just can't forward that link to someone for security reasons. We can't just have anybody that wants to send this to their friend review the model. So if you could just simply come back to us with the name, we'll quickly have them added on to the guest of users, and we'll take it from there. And most importantly, our PS&E for this project, when we plan on putting out for letting, is on March 11th. So this will be the primary chance to review the documentation and the project. And if you could please provide your comments by Tuesday, February 2nd, it would be greatly appreciated. And like I said, if there's any questions that come up, feel free to reach out to Anshu, myself, or Eric, or all three of us. And if we can't answer your question, we will put you in contact with the correct person that will be able to readily solve your condition. All right, so if you go to that link to the FTP site, you'll see that there's all of these files provided on here. What I would recommend is that a user would come in here and just simply download all of these files and put them into a folder on their desktop or in their documents so that they have access to all of them. I really wouldn't recommend saying, oh, I want to look at the plans now and download that link. I would just download it all. You have access to everything. You don't have to look back and forth. Is this new? Did I grab the right files? You'll have a better grasp of what's going on. So like I said, there's a lot of files here. There's just not a link to a plan set that can be simply reviewed. So I do see this causing a little bit of confusion. And by having this meeting so early on in the review process, I really hope that we can address any sources of confusion. So I've included all of those files. I've downloaded each of them onto my computer, and I put them into their own folder. So now I have this ADP submission, and I have access to all of these files. Quick note for internal DOT users, with these being located on the temporary data exchange, I also recommend you take a copy of all those files and place them somewhere on your computer. I really don't want to have anybody access those files and accidentally save a different version of that file on there. So now when another user goes to access it, they potentially don't have the correct version. And likewise, if somebody has a file out, it might cause issues. So please just make a copy of all of these files and put them onto your computer. So quickly going through some of these documents that you will receive, you have a folder with renderings inside of them. We put together a few different views so that a user can better understand the final condition of our project. We have the federated file. I'll go into that in a moment when I bring up the model. You have your HC140s, that's for your utilities. Your utility inventory report, that's your HC203. Like I said, we did provide a 3D PDF that Eric will discuss in a little bit. This is a tutorial on the best practices to use. I think a lot of people are going to like that 3D PDF because everybody's familiar with accessing a PDF. Not everybody's familiar with accessing a CAD file or a model. And I think that's going to provide a lot of clarity and help get users acclimated to the project. It's really easy to use, and it's got a similar look and feel as if you were in CAD. I'm going to come back to this quick start guide. Like I said before, highly recommend viewing this document before you look at the project. This is the actual 3D PDF file. We have the corresponding 2D plans with the project in here as well. We have our special notes. I'll also come back to this. We have our special notes that are related to the different elements of work in the project. And we also have the model-based contracting special notes embedded in these as well. And I'll also come back to those. We've included the different special specifications that we've utilized on this project. We have another special note with this being a best value delivery method. We had to include this as well, so feel free to look at that. We've included some various Excel files. These are primarily for use by the contractor and the steel fabricator that will be actually creating the structural steel, for example, the carrier beam or the superstructure. And then this is likewise would be like the bearings table that you would see on a structures plan. We've included a comment response form. Any comments that you've gathered through your review of all of this entirety of documentation from the plans to the model, please use this form when submitting your comments for the project. This is another supplemental file for the structures portion, and it goes over the piles. This is also a description. If you forgot about any of the files that I was talking about today, you can reference this document, and it will take you through each of the files. Another thing that we'd like everybody that conducts a review is to fill out the questionnaire. That's really just trying to give us a good idea of what a user is taking away from this review, what they had issues with, so that we can improve upon that in the final project delivery for when the contractors are going to bid on it, and then likewise in the next project that is delivered via model-based contracting. With this being the only second instance of this in New York State, this is continually a process that's growing and being improved upon. It's not simply just us here at New York State DOT that are refining this process. We really want to get good feedback from every teammate that's on this phone call right now. And we'd like your voice to be heard, and we'd like to refine the process and make it better so that any issues that, are potentially ran into this time around, or, subjects that we might not have even thought about, but we'd really like that feedback. So I'd really recommend any user that does do a review, you could please spend a couple extra minutes and quickly fill out the questionnaire. We'd really appreciate it. And then lastly, we have this ADP video 4D construction simulation. Like I was saying earlier, in the email that you got for the project review also includes a link to the same video right here on YouTube. So let's go through the quick start guide. This is going to take a user through their course of action on how they should conduct the review. We really wanted to provide this so that you weren't going in there blindly, and this is going to answer a lot of questions, like I said. So the first thing you should review is the 2D plan set. This is going to be a required portion of your review. That's the file right there. Some pros are users are very familiar with 2D plan sets. Less technical background, but hindsight is, it's difficult to identify any 3D conflicts, especially with all the utilities on this project, and it doesn't include the entire project. You really need both the 2D plan set and the model together to form a full picture of the project. This is an optional element, the 2D or the 3D PDF element 2 here. Like Eric was saying, this is a great way to quickly familiarize yourself with the project.
That's right.
And I think a lot of users are going to.
Yep, thanks.
I think a lot of users are going to be able to pull that up and feel very comfortable with that document because it is a PDF. There is a tutorial on the different functionalities that you can do inside of that 3D PDF. And I would recommend you look at this before you pull up the 3D PDF and use it by the side as you do your review. But again, it does have its cons. It's not intended to get your quantity information. You're not going to be able to quickly get how much cut and fill is on the project. It's not super easy to turn stuff on, turn stuff off. You can't place 3D comments in there, like you saw this drainage structure that's not in the right location and you want to comment on it. That functionality is not in there. So then there's a choice between items 3 and 4 for the model portion of the review. Once again, you have the choice between the iTwin, which would simply be pulling up the link inside of that review document and accessing the model on Bentley's website, or you have Bentley View. This was one of the things I want to point out again. Those wanting to review that have not received an email invitation need to provide their email address to Eric. He'll quickly get you added. You'll create a Bentley Connect account on your own. And we've also made sure there's some introductory training videos available. Like I said, I think a lot of users will feel very comfortable using the iTwin review because if you don't have a CAD background, if you haven't used Bentley quite a bit, this is a web portal. You don't have to download any software. You just need to have an account made free of charge quickly, and you can quickly access the model like it was on your C drive. There are some pros and cons on there as well. And then lastly, we have Bentley View. Here's another link to our training videos, and here's the file that you need to open. Like we were saying, it does require software installation. So I'd like to go to the special notes that were included with the ADP submission next. You have a lot of the different elements that are normally included with this type of project, stuff from super pave to noise control, but you will see this lastly, the model-based contracting portion. So let's go to page 62. You'll get into some of the different definition of terms. We've revised New York State DOT's Division 100 of standard specs because originally the definition of plans prohibited the use of any electronic documentation. And of course, with this project having a heavy amount of deliverables in electronic format, we needed to overcome this. So the definition now reads that the plans will also include any electronic files identified as plans, and this may include engineering models, spreadsheets, CAD files, or other electronic files used to convey the design. This shows you a breakdown of the different files that make up our federated file. Notice that D numbers are the contractual file. You'll also notice contract in the title, whereas you'll have a PIN, that's the project identification number, and supplemental for files that are simply supplemental provided in the 3D model. That's one important thing to take away as well. Contractual information is blessed the same way as if it was on a 2D plan set with an engineering stamp on it. Supplemental is purely for creating a full picture for both the reviewer and contractor, like how you would include a record plan set. It's supplemental. Please don't build from this set, but we want to include it because we think it's going to provide additional benefit. Here's the structure of the references inside the file. Like I was saying before, all of the saved views that you're looking for are located right here in the special note. If a user simply wants to see the abutment, what's taking place during stage QB at the begin side, all you have to do is navigate to this saved view right here, and it's going to show you that. Out of everything in the model, that's what it's going to bring up for you. Just a quick overview. You have CPB, that stands for Contract Plans Bridge. Those are going to be more bridge elements. You also have CPH, that's Contract Plan Highways. Likewise, you're going to see more of the pavement and drainage work. And then you have CPU, which is your utilities. Here's some of the different embedded links that were included with the model. We get into the level of development. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. That's a big term used in the BIM world. But this is really where you get into the main content of the and purpose of the model-based contracting special note. This tells the user what information they can retrieve from the model and what information they need to refer to potentially a standard sheet or the 2D corresponding plans. So let's go to substructure concrete quick. Each pour of substructure concrete is modeled as one solid and 3D element. The level name coincides with the pour number. The following information can directly be obtained from the 3D solid model: elevations, northern, easterns, components, distances, areas, volumes. However, the following information is not contained in the 3D model. You got your chamfer details, your keyway details, water stop details, and I need to look at the bridge plan sheets for that information. I shouldn't look for that in the model. That's why I'm saying it's very important to look at the special note before you look at your review, because a user might be like, why is there no chamfer details in the 3D model? Why is this missing? And that same message carries over for every element inside of that 3D model. And we try to really break it up, not you know, there's not 1,000 different details, but we do break up each respective element in here. You'll notice here on page 85, here's the link to download Bentley View. And here is another link to our YouTube site that will pull up the training videos. This is the link that you'll navigate to if you decide to download Bentley View. Very straightforward, just like downloading, accessing any other software that you would download. Here are the videos that we have on our YouTube page. You can pull up any one that you want based upon the information that you need. You know, they're not terribly long, but I would recommend going through all of them just because it would give you the best chance of succeeding at your review with running into the least amount of problems. These are definitely, from video 1 to video 3, are essential for every viewer that plans on downloading the software, because it really takes you through downloading, creating the account, getting it installed, getting your preferences set up, so you can take it from there. All right, so when you load Bentley View, this is the page you will see. You're gonna wanna make sure that your New York State DOT standards is clicked from here, and likewise, your work set is New York Highway Design. That's gone over in those videos as well, but I just want to reiterate it as it being important. It is in my recent file, so I will access it from here. I also want to access it from that folder that we downloaded off the FTP site. So once I unzip that folder, you'll see that you have all these various files in here. The next thing you should do is just go to the README. The README states only open the file, the federated file. That's where you can get your one-stop shopping like we were talking about before. If you have Bentley MicroStation on your computer, you can open it using that method as well. Internal users, I know if you didn't have MicroStation, we made it so that you could download Bentley View from the Software Center. All the files in this folder need to stay in that folder for the references and the embedded links to work properly. So try not to remove or change anything in the file. And then part of the setup is running the configuration file. That just gets your settings correct so that you're viewing the shapes and solids and the pavement materials correctly. And so everything looks correct. So this is also covered in that video 1B at minute 145. So I opened the model here, and you can see, like I was talking about before, you know, there's a lot of information in here. We have the buildings in here that will help orientate a user to the north, but you can see a ton of contours. We have some of those links like I was talking about before. Here are those. These open up web pages, of course. You have some other ones over here, an Excel document. You got a PDF document over there. But, you know, I could see this being a daunting task for somebody that's not familiar with opening up a CAD document before. So I just want to get some of the settings set up for, you know, your initial time. You're going to want to have your properties open. That's this box right here. By having that open, when you select an element, it will tell you all of the relevant information for that element. you're going to want your coordinate system up, the AccuDraw. This search ribbon up here is very helpful for anything that you're looking for. So we want to pull up the AccuDraw. All right. Sometimes when that comes up, it won't be an XYZ. It will be in a polar format. So you can see we have an angle and a distance in lieu of XYZ. You're just going to want to click on that and click the key M, and that will get you to your XYZ. And that is your grid location. That's your elevation. That's your northing and easting. So if we go to any point and select that, you can see the corresponding information, the Z, the X, the Y, and depending on the element, based upon reading that special note, you know that that's accurate per contractual, or if that's something I should get from the contractual 2D plans. So some of the other settings, you're going to want to have your snaps set up. These are called AccuSnaps. All you have to do is go into your search again, click on snap mode. These enable you to click on a variety of elements at certain predefined points. Key points allows you to click on only the begin, middle, or end point of a line. Near snap allows you to select any point. For most uses, you want to measure from end to end or end to center. I would recommend using this key point. Here's your different view toggles techniques. You have your rotation, view previous, zoom in, zoom out. You can also use your center tracking wheel for zooming in and out of the model. Some of the other important things are your display levels. You're going to want to have this so that you can functionally know what some of these things are and be able to turn stuff on and off. There's different levels in here. And by putting stuff on different levels, it allows the user to turn off stuff they don't want to see and turn on stuff that they want to see. So if this description's not up when you pull up Bentley View, just simply right-click, click description. A good example of how that's going to benefit you is if I click on a line, you can see that in the background there. The level that it's on is simply UFO. That literally means nothing to most people, but if you go in here to the description for the right file that it's on, you'll see that that stands for utility fiber optic underground. You're going to get more from that by selecting it that way via the level display in lieu of just a UFO. So definitely recommend having 2 screens for a review, but it's not essential. A lot of these tools can simply just be docked off to the side and access when needed. Your next course would be opening up your reference dialogues. Give that a second to load. All right, it's on my other page here, and bring that over. So first thing when you open your references, these refer to each of those contractual and supplemental files. You'll notice that there's not much information actually inside of the federated file. It's simply just pointing to other files and bringing in that relevant information. So when you open your references, I would bring logical all the way to the front. This way we can quickly tell, you can sort by column and you can tell, okay, here's my contract bridge, highway, and utilities, and likewise, here's my supplemental information. To be able to toggle this information on and off, you're going to want to bring this over just so it's visible. That's the display dialog. We can see that if we click this stuff off in here, it's also turning that information off in there. And then there's also the tree if we want to get down into some of the references below. Pull back the reference dialog. If this isn't open when you pull open references, you're just going to want to click on that, expand it out, and expand the tree. This shows the hierarchy of how things are associated. Let's say I want to go to the supplemental work or highway stuff. and turn off the base mapping. I can just turn off the base mapping and that's it from there, simply by clicking on that and turning it off here. And another important thing is you can't break this. Yeah, you know, you can get as confused and as turned around as possible, but you can't break it. So you don't have to worry about that. You know, if you accidentally turn something on or off or, you know, change the view in any way, we set up different saved views so that you can go back to what you were looking at. And I'll show you an example of that afterwards. So that pretty much takes me through the main things you're going to want to have set up for your review. The next thing I want to jump into is the saved views. This dialog box will pop up right here. You'll see the same saved views that were listed in the special note. Included here, we have some for work zone traffic control. We have some for the bridge here, and we have some for highways and utilities likewise. I would recommend just sorting by name so that they're all in chronological order. So like I was saying before, there's a lot of information in here, and for me to turn off every specific link and level and reference to look for something, it might take a lot of work. So we set these up ahead of time. A good example of this is like the work zone traffic control. What is, you know, we included these just so a user can understand in the 3D element, what's the lane shifts look like? You know, this is just purely supplemental so that a user can see this in the model, because we do have the contractual 2D plans to cover this information. But of course, if you're in the model, you want to see how this is going to be corresponding to the bridge out there. So we'll just double click on that saved view. We'll see apply the saved view. We want all of these selected, and then we're just going to left click, data point, accept, and you'll see behind there that now we have the stage 2A lane shifts in here, and we can see the setup. We got the work zone over here. I'm going to navigate to stage 5 now. Let's see what's going on in work zone stage 5A. So now we can see that the traffic's been shifted up on the north side. We see these lanes are traveling west to the Madison Ave Bridge, and then these lanes are traveling east. We have a turn bay, and this is the primary work environment. We didn't have to include this in the model, but we thought it'd be really beneficial to see this type of information in the model as well. Some of the other good ones are the some of the bridge stuff here. Let's go to the lateral connection. So we have a big carrier beam underneath the abutment supporting it, and it's got some fancy connections on it. To get to this part of the model, you're talking about turning off, you know, upwards of 50 levels, but I can quickly just navigate. I did that on the other screen to this reference, and it will that I'm looking and see how that bracing is. And likewise, for some of these other stages, I have the abutment for stage 5B, and you know, this is going to be primarily focused in on the earthwork. Same thing, double click on the view, left click to accept, and we can see now, you know, we have our element selection command, that we have this solid in here, bridge excavation. Notice I was saying the properties is where you're going to get all this information from. We have the structure excavation clearly identified in here, and the item number that it's going to be paid for. But let's go to another view that might be of interest. The various types of diaphragms that are included. If we just go back to the whole bridge, so this is just the bridge, contract plan bridge all. You know, we can see right now that there's no diaphragms in there. I mean, I'd have to take off the deck, you know, and remove all this information so I could see underneath. Just because we're here right now, we know that there are utilities on this project. So let's turn those on because we want to see how those interface with our bridge. We can just go back over here to our references. We'll go back up top to our main part of the tree. give it a second to load. Let's turn on our proposed utilities now. You can see that we just had our bridge on before. Let's turn on the existing utilities too, to just see how these elements come together in a 3D environment. So now that I've turned those on, we can see that we've added all this additional information in here. We can see that we have this sewer system coming through, these different manhole risers. We have traffic control elements. And all the user has to do is hover over that element and they can see what that is. For example, this is a sanitary line underground. And like I was saying before, this might be too much information for what I wanted to see. I was really just concerned about this. So we can go into the level display and click this box right here to turn off levels, or we can just hold the right click, go to level off, and let's start getting rid of some of this information that we're not interested in. We'll get rid of that, we'll get rid of that. We got a water line, let's get rid of that. You'll see that in the special notes, this magenta color is elements that are going to be abandoned or removed. We didn't want there to be a duplication, so users could quickly understand between what elements were going to be abandoned and what are going to be the proposed and existing differentiation. So likewise, I can just continue to turn off stuff that is not what I'm interested in, the telephone line, all of this information. And now we can see a much better picture. Oh, I'm not interested in the luminaires or signals. I can turn all that off and I can get the picture that I'm looking for. Like I was saying before, if we just want to go right back to that, just the bridge, all I have to do is click on that bridge, save view, and boom, we're back to that. You know, even though we turned off all that stuff, we turned on different references, we didn't hurt anything. We can always go back, and we've included a couple at the top just to get you back to, you know, everything being on with the grid north, and then another reset. One second, I'm going to mute another person here. All right, perfect. And this will get you back to your starting point. And, you know, like I said, don't be nervous that you turned off too much stuff. It's going to happen. You're going to get, you know, rotated into a position that you're not familiar with, and you want to get back because you have no idea where you are, you know. That's another good element. Let me cover that quick. When I go to the rotation command, we're going to go to dynamic rotation. I can select this cursor and put it on any element, and we'll revolve about that. So, you know, we can rotate around, but, you know, this is going to happen, right? We're going to be looking like this, and we have no idea what happened. All we have to do is go back to that contract bridge, all on, and we're back where we were. I want to dive into those diaphragms again real quick. You can see just by the amount of information I would have to turn off to see a diaphragm. I could just go to diaphragm type 2A from the save views, and that's it right there. That's the information that I was looking for. I'm going to go through a couple more. We have our highway save view in here. We got a MDE, major D, and we're doing a little bit of pavement recon down there, PCC pavement, and I want to see a, you know, longitudinal section of the southbound. Okay, we can see we're replacing some drainage structures in here. What's going on with that? What's the item? How are we paying for it? All I have to do is select that drainage structure, and I see this is a type F structure. I see the corresponding frame and the corresponding grate for it. Likewise, I see we got a curb going in here. What type of pavement do we got? So let's select it. Okay, we got PCC pavement, it's heavily reinforced. This is how we're paying for it. And then we have the corresponding information for that solid right here as well. We have a volume, we have a surface area, and, you know, we really saw the positive effects of that when the contractor was bidding on items. They could quickly navigate to an element and the pay item that they needed to provide pricing for and see that that's where that volume is coming from. So let's go to a utility save view quick. Down here at the bottom, we have the CPUs. I want to see a New York City DEP sewer isometric view. Perfect. I'm not interested in all the other stuff. I want to see that. Okay. So I double click. I clicked accept in the screen. That's a left click. I'm going to move this off for clarity. All right, let it load up. And now we can see here's the sewer. Here's some of the New York City DEP entities. We have how we're, abandoning this sewer location, and this is our new proposed location right here. Just by, hovering over it, you can see that this is a drainage feature right here. This is a combined system. This is a regulator. Like I was saying, all that information, is right here and readily available for a reviewer. So some of the other stuff, let's just see all of the utility elements. So I went to the utilities only save view. We can see all of the various items that are included in here. Let's go to, we saw enough. We want to go back to the main view and a good overview of the project. So now that we're back at this position, let it load for a second. Let's go into some of these embedded links. We see that over here, I got a PDF. Can't really tell what that is. Let's go ahead and rotate over there. Remember, we just move the cursor, select it on the corner. We're just going to rotate around. Okay, that looks like it's on a drainage structure. What documentation we got there? So I'm just going to hover over that. It says we got a data drainage table. Okay, let me go ahead and open that file. And instead of having to navigate through, a ton of different files to look for this, you have the drainage table right here for your use. You can see the slopes, lengths of pipes, and the various nodes that were utilized. And, once again, I can see that the drainage structure, but how's that getting paid for? You have that information right here. And that really covers, a lot of the different elements. If you click on a luminaire here, you can see I can select it with the background. You have that information right there included. That was one of the techniques that we used to overcome the fact that, we would simply just call this out with an item number on a 2D plan set, but with this being in 3D, we don't really have that opportunity. So that's the way we plan on and have used to convey not only information like that, but you'll see on some of the various elements we've included designer notes. So all you have to do is select the object, and you will get more information over here. And some, you'll see different stuff as far as the volume for specific excavations or pavement placements, or some things such as item numbers, or bringing the reviewer's attention to maybe a record plan set. So, Eric, I think that pretty much wraps it up for what I wanted to cover. Can you take control and go into the 3D PDF in iTwin from here quick? I think I muted everybody, so I might have to unmute them.
Can you hear me,
Eric? Yeah, sorry, I didn't mute everybody.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Eric Coulter. I work with Zach in the main office in the Highway Design Bureau. So I'm just going to share my screen here and take control. All right, so I'm going to jump back just a little bit into this quick start guide. And just reiterate, this is a good place to come back to just to make sure you got all the required information you need. So item number one here, this is typical. This is what we traditionally deal with. And on our first pilot project, we offered Bentley View as a way to review our model. And you'll see we've since added a couple additional methods for review. And these are kind of just feelers. We're piloting this Bentley iTwin design review with this project. We're just kind of looking for additional avenues to review our design and to offer reviewers additional ways to look at it. That 3D PDF, as Zach mentioned, is a great way to just get familiar with the project. and I'll cover that in a second. And, you know, just to help us going forward, Zach mentioned the questionnaire. Please do fill that out just so we know if these things are helpful for you guys to do the review. We want to streamline this process and provide reviewers with the best information possible to conduct their reviews. So with that, I'll jump into this 3D PDF tutorial. We didn't want to just throw a 3D PDF in your lap and have you try to figure out how to use it. So GPI put together this 3D PDF tutorial on how to get set up in here. There's a couple settings that you're going to have to apply, and you'll see when you open this file here, your 3D PDF file, you'll be hit with this trust document. If you just go in and click options and trust it and give it a few seconds, it'll load up and you'll see what I'm showing here, and you'll get all your navigation tools up here on the top. And this document just goes through what all these toolbar functions are, and just another good reference once you get in there, how to navigate around. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up this 3D PDF. So this is what you'll be looking at once you get into it. And this is printed right from our federated model. So what Zach just showed you in Bentley View is what you're going to see in the 3D PDF. And as he had mentioned, it's just PDFs are pretty standard in the industry and everybody's pretty comfortable with them. So it's just another thing we wanted to try and see how it worked out for everyone. So I'll just go over a couple of things here. You've got your panning and your rotating commands here, and if I just click on that, I can rotate around the model pretty easily. Another thing that you're going to want to at the ready here is your model tree. If you click on that, you'll notice over here on the side, you'll get a list of all the levels and references in the model. So kind of what you saw there in Bentley View, where it creates this model tree as to how this federated file was assembled. You can turn stuff on and off in here and you'll see it. So that's nice as well. If you don't want to see all that information, you can isolate and just get down to what you're looking for here. You can zoom in, you can pan around, you can change your renderings, how you want to see it, whether it's a wireframe or a smooth model, which is shown here. The other thing that you can do in here is place comments, 3D comments. So this is another acceptable way to comment on this project. You can just come in here, you can snap to an element and you can say, you know, whatever you want in there, and you can hit OK and it'll place the comment, and when you rotate, you'll see your comment kind of sticking with you, and then you could just go ahead and save it and then submit that as part of your review as well. If we go back into that tutorial, I just want to point out that, you know, it's not the best thing if you want to go in and just get comfortable and maybe make a few design intent and identify some conflicts in there. That's a good place for it. One thing you don't really want to do is get in there and try to measure and you know, grab any quantity information from. That's not really the intent of the 3D PDF. But I think that pretty much covers that 3D PDF. Again, it's just another tool that we wanted to provide and see how it works out for reviewers. So as I mentioned, I'm going to move into this Bentley iTwin design review. This is something we're piloting. We've never used this before on a DOT project, but again, we're looking for ways to make this review easier. And the way this is set up, one of the benefits to this is it's a shared review environment. And so the way we have this broken down is we've got a few different silos set up. So we've got an internal NISE dot, iTwin design review, and there's nothing that you have to do on your end. That's already set up. So once you get in there and folks start putting in comments, which I'll show you in a second, you'll start seeing them on your computer as well. So that's the nice thing about the shared environment. It helps to consolidate the comments and prevent the same comments from being made, and also a way for other users to see what other people are commenting on. Just a couple things to point out. This is not what contractors are going to be using to prepare bids. That's one of the big reasons why we're still providing you with Bentley View, because that's what the contractors are going to use to prepare their bids. Both of these products, they both require a Bentley account. We have a link here to some training videos that'll walk you through that process. There are training videos specifically for Bentley View, and there's training videos specifically for the iTwin design review. And when you click those links, this is where you're going to end up. These are your iTwin videos, and these are your Bentley View videos. So that should be pretty straightforward. Let's go back to the email here. So in both emails, one to New York City and one for internal users, the same link is provided in here. All you got to do is click this link, and it will bring you into the iTwin. If you're having any issues with getting in here, please email me. It may just be an issue where you were not added to the initial list of users. Let me just move this out of the way. And just to give you an idea of what you're going to be looking at when you get in here, I'll just hit on a couple of these things. This one right here is going to toggle on your issues. So this is how you're going to come in here, and you're going to find something you want to make a comment on, and you're going to place an issue, and that's what you're seeing here with these flags. So these are all comments that I've made in here on this project. It'll list them all here on the side. If you don't like to see those flags, you can turn them off. You can turn them back on, and you'll start seeing everybody's comments start populating in here. So right now, I'm the only one that's made comments on this project so far for NISDOT, so that's why you're only seeing mine in here. But if I want to see specifically what I was commenting on, I can go and take a look at it. So I just place the comment here. It'll create a saved view of your comment, so what you were looking at when you made the comment. I've got a description here of my comment. I can go back and take a look at some of these other ones that I've made in here, and I can place measurements in my comments when I create my saved view, and it's just a good way to convey this information in a shared environment. We do have some saved views in here. These are not all of the saved views that are listed in the special note, but there are a few in here just to get you, to help you get oriented. So this is just all the bridge views right now that I'm showing here. I can turn these markers off for some clarity. Some default view, just an isometric view, got some highway information, utilities, and of course, once you get upside down and inside out, you can come back and hit your reset grid north view. So there's some tools over here, and we'll go into more detail on this in the training videos, but just to run through them real quick, you've got your measurements. So if you want to come in here and pull some tape in here and get some angles and areas of certain shapes, you can do that. You can cut some sections. You can view a profile of a roadway, which is a very powerful tool and something that you can't get from Bentley View. So that's another reason why we wanted to pilot this. You can cut some cross sections. You can just come in here. If I go to like a top view, I can just do a 2-point, cut a cross section. It'll take a second to load up here, but there's my section of what I just cut here. And one thing that's nice is you can move this around and it'll update that section. You can measure in here, and then you can also create a comment from this view as well. So that's pretty handy. One thing that's neat too is there's this, you have to be in the top view in order for this to work, but there's some geo-referenced photos in here from a site visit that we made to the project. Once we load that up, we can close that. We can minimize some of this, get it out of the way. But where'd they go? There we go. And I can just come in here and I can click on these, and they're geo-referenced photos. So this is what we were looking at when we took the photo. It'll create a new tab each time, so you'll just have to close that out to get back in the model. But you can go ahead and check some of these out if you want to just get a little bit more familiar with what the project looked like at the ground level. These are your rotate commands in here. You can just come in here and similar, you can grab a point and rotate, and you'll see what I mean with these geo photos being in the top view. I can just turn those back off. There's a fit view, there's previous views. You can just hit this to get back to a quick top view. You can use this tool to kind of walk around. You can walk through the model, fly through the model. They have different options here, but over here we have our model tree similar to in Bentley View, where you've got your references. That's basically this dialog here. This is under your model tree, and you can turn things on and off. So I can turn off the original ground. I can come in here and turn off. These should look very familiar from what Zach just showed you. So you can start turning off some of these and expanding out some of these model trees as well. So like the buildings would be under here. I can just turn those off if I don't want to see those. Let me get back to the top view. I'm just going to go reset my view. Grid north. And you'll see that we have this, it's called reality data, where it's bringing in a Bing map. You can turn that on and off in here as well. If it loads up here for me. And you can change that as well. I had the aerials shown, but close that back up. There we go. So I have that turned off. I can turn that back on. You'll see these three little dots here. So I can change this. Right now I'm in a hybrid. I can go to just an aerial view or a street. So that's handy, and you can also turn on the terrain. So that's just pulling in some USGS terrain, just like you would see in like a Google Earth. So when you rotate, you'll be able to see. Let me just rotate this. You'll see some terrain associated with it. So if I zoom in here, you'll see this is elevated. Another tool you're going to want to use is if I click on an item here, let's zoom in here to, let's say, this barrier. It's gonna give me the properties, and I can just click on that, and it'll tell me more about this individual item here. So just some additional information there. But that's pretty much the iTwin, just a quick overview of it. I'll just show you how to create an issue here. So you can just come in and you just click on something and you'll be prompted to a form. So this is what it's going to look like. So I'm in a NISDOT internal review. So this is I'm calling them a silo, but so like New York City, DOT, you'll have your own form. So that'll pop up, but it'll look just like this. You can type in your subject, you know, what you're seeing, what you want to comment on. You can assign it to a category. So this will help us filter the comments on our end for when we go to resolve comments. So you just make your description, and you can upload a file if you want to, some supporting record plan information, for instance, and then you hit save and it posts your comments similar to these. So I think that pretty much covers the 3D PDF and the iTwin design review. One thing that I would like everybody to try this. It's pretty easy. Just click on a link. And once you get a Bentley account set up, whether it's for Bentley View or iTwin, you only have to do that once for either program. So if you've already set it up for the Bentley View, just go in and click that link and it'll bring you right in. And just a reminder, you have to be using Chrome browser. It will not work with Internet Explorer. So it is a lot of information. You know, I think one of the things to keep in mind is just focus on something small. You know, it's a lot of information when you get into the CAD environment. You know, focus on a small area and turn things on and off, and I think that'll help you out with your review.
All right, thank you very much for showing those iTwin and the 3D PDF, Eric. Lastly, I wanted to show the video that our consultant on the project, our teammates at GPI, put together for us. The staging on this project is pretty sophisticated. I think the bridge is being replaced in 5 separate stages alone. And then likewise, similar, there's another 5 stages for the major dig and reconstruction taking place below. And I know a lot of times, specifically for me, when I'm reviewing a new project and I'm looking at all these different lane shifts and work zone traffic control plans, it's kind of difficult to orientate yourself and figure out what's actually taking place in each stage. So I want to show you this video real quick. I'm just going to go through the first minute. There's a MP4 of this provided on the FTP site, and there's also a link to this same video on YouTube. One thing quick, if you do pull up the YouTube video, I would just recommend you go to settings and turn the quality up to the maximum possible. For some reason, it defaulted to the minimum when I initially pulled it up, and it didn't really look too good. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video. We were viewing north. You can see where the buildings are. We're rotating down now to a southern section. You can see the utilities being installed there to the right. We can see stage 2A and 2B taking place. We have the inset on the top left. You can see we're doing some pile driving operations. We're working off the existing bridge deck by way of the excavator and pile driving equipment on there. We can see the right side, we just excavated out. We installed piles now. We can see some of the temporary lighting configuration going in up top. All right, we removed the existing bridge deck along with the pier in the center. It looks like we got our bearings going in. We have our prefab deck slabs going in. You see the crane. We have our curb ramps going in there. Approach slab going in there. And our bridge barrier, and that's gonna be the final step in 2A. And you'll see this just continues throughout the whole process of construction. Like I was saying, it is fairly sophisticated. It's not just one of those that we're slicing the bridge down the half and simply building in 2 stages. There's a lot more to it with this being such a heavily trafficked area. I would recommend taking a peek at this before you begin your review or as part of your review. I think it's very valuable, and we plan on using this for other avenues as well, such as public outreach, so that we can, demonstrate what's taking place in construction and, show the public the types of shifts and closures that are going to be required. But that pretty much wraps up our presentation for today. I hope everybody was able to take away something from this, and you feel that much more comfortable in your review of this project. like I was saying before, definitely feel free to reach out to Eric and myself. There's a lot of information here and there's a lot going on. So we know that people are going to have an issue, even maybe downloading software, and we want to make it as easy as possible. We want to try to ease those burdens of growing pains, and the more feedback that we can get from you guys, the better, not only on the project and the model-based contracting delivery method as well. So there's our emails located at the bottom of the screen. I've recorded this presentation as well. Sometimes the audio isn't too great on WebEx, so I'm going to see if we can get that cleaned up, and if everything goes well with that, we'll also post a copy of this video to the FTP site and to the P drive internally. So thanks a lot for everybody joining this presentation today, and I wish you luck in your review, and definitely feel free to reach out if you have any questions.